I want to ask you how you would characterize the truce that was agreed to yesterday, because many people out there are calling it a 60-day ceasefire. What is your characterization of what was agreed to? Is this a permanent ceasefire? Do you see this as an end to the war?
Well, I mean, as we heard, President Biden used the word permanent. He was very clear that there is a clear intention from all the friends of Lebanon, all the allies, that they want this to be a permanent ceasefire. Honestly, as a Minister of Economy, part of this government, I call this an opportunity. It's more of an opportunity. It's not a celebration. It's not a win. It's an opportunity for Lebanon today to really seize it, to save the country from further devastation, from further escalation into this war that Lebanon has paid a very, very heavy price for. So I see this as a very good opportunity, backed up by big countries like the United States, like the European Union, like other major players from the Arab world, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt. So we should seize this opportunity and save Lebanon. It's an opportunity that might not come back if we don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just handle it, but also make sure that it is implemented properly. Because if you look at the terms of the truce, they mirror very much that UN Resolution 1701 that was put in place after the 2006 war. The issue with that is that it was never fully implemented. What guarantees do we have this time around that Hezbollah are going to adhere to the terms of the truce?
Well, times have changed. Since 2006 and 2024, things have changed. There's a big shift in the region. There's a big shift in Lebanon. We, as a government, and you know Hezbollah as part of this government, have felt, at least for the past few months, that there is a complete change in the tonality of Hezbollah's approach to the next stage in Lebanon, to the next Lebanon that we dream of. Because, as you know, probably Lebanon for the past 75 years has paid a very heavy price for the Israeli-Arab struggle. And we have never witnessed really a serious sovereignty for the government, for the Lebanese military, all over the Lebanese territory. I think it's about time everybody realizes, including Hezbollah, that we cannot keep running away from this. If this country is to be backed up, if this economy is to be supported, and if the damage is to be rebuilt, we will need to adhere to all the international laws, to 1701, and we need to become a fully, sovereign state with a president, most importantly, elect a president, for the international community to take this country seriously and trust that they can support it to get out of this dark tunnel.
Yeah. So there needs to be political rebuilding in order for the economic rebuilding to start. Let's just start with your imminent priorities. Now, as economy minister, you're talking about 1.2 million displaced people. We saw social media videos of many of those families returning back to their homes in the south. What are you doing to help those displaced?
So the displaced people is a very, very large-scale operation. It's very costly to the government, and without the international aid, we would have not been able to continue that. That's why we kept saying that a ceasefire is important, because if that was to extend, if that war was to extend longer, we would have needed about $300 million a month to be able to cater to the operation handling all the displaced people. Now, as far as them getting back to their villages, there is a program that we set yesterday, particularly with the Lebanese army, because the priority is the safety of their return now. And over 60%, 65% of those people still have their homes. However, the government is working now on securing a safe and sound return for those that still have their homes. That includes, food security, that includes proper shelter, that includes commuting back there, and most importantly, to make sure that there are no leftovers of this war that can create certain security issues like explosives and and rockets that have not been, exploded yet.
The World Bank estimates that economic losses are amounting to about $8.5 billion, possibly even more, after 14 months of conflict, with the bulk of the economic losses occurring in the last couple of months. What is the strategy for reconstruction here, and how much is Lebanon's reconstruction going to be reliant on that international aid that you talked about coming in?
So the World Bank report, exactly as you mentioned, they put out a couple of numbers. One that includes the negative impacts on the economy, one that included the destruction, and few other numbers that related more to the GDP over the next few years, and growth plus unemployment. We did the math as Ministry of Economy, and we realized that the real number today is an estimate of $15 billion. And this number is going up. I'm sure now after the ceasefire, when we do proper assessment on the ground, the numbers are going to look much bigger. The only way to deal with is really, as I mentioned earlier, is to have Lebanon regain back the trust of the international community, elect a president very fast, and a new government that can go around the world attending and organizing conferences to support Lebanon, because we're talking about a big number. When we're saying $15 billion, it's not going to be easy to rally that. It's not going to be easy to collect and gather that for Lebanon unless we have something to offer. We have transparency, we have a government in place, and we have something to showcase to the world, that especially the world that wants to see Lebanon come back on its feet, particularly on the economic side, because everybody knows a ceasefire or an end of the war without fixing the economy will not mean anything to the country, because the country will fall apart again once the economy reality hits back if we don't save it.
Yeah. Just a final question for you, just to bring it back to the politics, because people have been talking about the delinking between the situation in Lebanon and the ongoing now conflict still in Gaza. To what extent do you think what is happening in Gaza is going to continue to weigh on Lebanon's fortunes in the future?
Well, we have always been affected as a neighboring country. We have always been affected by anything that happens in Palestine, anything that happens in Syria. The history of Lebanon has been affected by the struggles in neighboring countries. However, I can tell you today in politics, if we're talking internal politics, government politics, Hezbollah politics, again, as I said, there's a big shift even in the Hezbollah tone today. And that was one main reason that made the ceasefire possible, that Hezbollah and their allies, made it very clear that they are willing to divide, or they are willing to steer away from connecting Lebanon to Gaza to save Lebanon. That was a very, very serious moment of change in the politics in Lebanon, and particularly how the two routes were connected. So that's a good thing, because we need that ceasefire and we need that stability on our front to get back the country on its feet.